Welcome back. Cuba was the big headliner at this third gathering of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States. Joining me now in the studio is Hugo Cancio, a Cuban American. He's been active in Cuban American politics and in business activities between the United States and Cuba. Hugo, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Cuban President Raul Castro was, of course, at the CELAC meeting. He used the meeting as an opportunity to outline his conditions, preconditions to normalize the relationship with the United States. He wants the embargo lifted. He wants Guantanamo back. What did you make of that?
Well, I think there were not preconditions. I think those are the basis for normalizing relationships. There's a lot of differences between the United States and Cuba. Those things need to be put forth on the table, on the negotiating table before moving forward. Lifting the embargo, it's a must for the Cuban people. It's what over 11 million people want and desired and think is best for the country. And returning Guantanamo Bay is the right thing to do. It's an illegal occupation of that base for many, many, many years.
When you look at the forum at which he made these statements, the CELAC meeting, I mean, how important was that? It was, I mean, the optics were that he was getting diplomatic support for this.
Well, he was sending a message for, to the, different countries in Central and South America that have been supportive of Cuba for many, many, many years. He was basically letting them know that they were not being left behind just now that Cuba is in the process of normalizing relationship with the United States.
Of course, once the relationship is normalized, it changes a lot of things. For instance, when one looks at the tourism business, it opens Cuba, the Cuban market, to the United States. It's going to hurt other Caribbean and Latin American countries. It's going to hurt Mexico. It's going to hurt the Dominican Republic, Caribbean nations. Yet they were there expressing their support.
Multiple destinations, that's the key for them. I mean, if I were to advise them, we'll say, use Cuba as a multiple destination. Cuba for many years has focused on the European markets to bring tourism to Cuba because they did not have access to U.S. tourists. Islands in the Caribbean focus on American tourism. Now Cuba is open. It's a beautiful country. It's the largest island in the Caribbean. Great weather, great people, highly educated. A lot of Americans are now focusing on Cuba as their next destination. So my advice for the Minister of Tourism for those islands in the Caribbean is focus on Cuba as a multiple destination. In Italian, is going from Italy, from Rome to Miami, Miami, San Juan, Havana. I mean, that's the key. That's the future.
The entire issue of normalizing relations with Cuba is a very divisive issue, especially when it comes to Cuban Americans. I mean, there are people who support it wholeheartedly, and there are people who are totally against it. They want the embargo to remain in place. What do you make of the...
That's the minority.
Yeah.
That's the minority. I don't think there's a single Cuban out there that loves their country of origin that does not want the embargo to be lifted. It is inhumane. It affects only the Cuban people, and it should be lifted without any conditions, with any preconditions. I think it's a minority in my local community in Miami that still focuses on maintaining the embargo because they want to continue with the old policies of the past that have taken us nowhere. And I think it's just a matter of playing politics, that's all.
Right, and talking about the old policies of the past, I mean, President Obama specifically mentioned that when he made this announcement. He said, look, for more than 50 years we've had this embargo. Where has it got us? What has it achieved? Time for a change.
That is correct. And also, I think it was also a message for the Cuban government as well. There's a lot of things that have not worked in Cuba that needs to be changed. So in essence, that was a broad message for ourselves in the United States and for the Cuban government as well. And I hope it changes. I hope things change and move forward.
I want to ask you about the CELAC summit itself. It was kind of big on rhetoric, short on substance. A lot of anti-American rhetoric as well.
Well, you have a lot of socialist governments now in South America. Look, I'm an American citizen. I love this country as well as I love my native country of Cuba. I think we should all put our differences aside and try to move forward and try to work together for a better future of our own countries, my country of Cuba, and also the United States. I don't play politics and rhetoric. I think it takes us nowhere.
When we talk about Cuba itself, one of the things that's very difficult to establish right now, we probably will know in the weeks and months ahead, is the level of support in Cuba for what the U.S. president said a month ago, that he wants to restore relations.
Well, Cubans have put their faith on the lifting of the embargo and the normalization of the relationship between both countries. My country of Cuba and its government has always blamed the United States government and the existing embargo for the lack of certain things that take place in Cuba. And now the Cuban people are opening their hearts and mind to a potential new opportunities, a well of infinite possibilities if those relationships actually materialize and get better. So yes, I mean, the Cuban people, the president's speech was amazing. I mean, it was a great speech. He spoke directly to the Cuban people as well, and actually told them we're not here to colonize Cuba as a country. And he sent, he cited Jose Marti, our national poet and hero. It was a great speech. Now he needs to turn that speech into action and actually move forward the normalization of the relationships and do away with all policies and tactics of the past.
I think one of the things that might get lost in this debate, in this discussion, is the fact that Cuba already trades with most of the rest of the world.
Under extreme conditions, yes, they do, but there's still the embargo affects the Cuban economy tremendously. I mean, American companies that do business in the United States cannot do business in Cuba. A ship that docks in Cuba cannot dock in the United States for 6 months. I mean, any product that has a small percentage of chemicals or parts made in the United States cannot be sold in Cuba. I mean, there's still a lot of things that affect the Cuban people in terms of the embargo. And again, it only affects the people. I always like to focus on the people. So it affects the people. It affects my family. It affects my friends. It affects the Cuban people.
Hugo Cancio, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that's all the time we have for. Well, the conversation continues online. Join us on CCTV America's Facebook page to comment on this or any other show, or chat with us on Twitter at cctv_America. I'm Arnold Naidu in Washington, D.C. Thanks for being with us.